Okay, we're recording. Let's get this show on the road. So we're going to talk about how the class is going to be run and all that good stuff. So let's begin. So the first person who can take these bells from me in the next 5 minutes gets an A. Everyone else fails. Go back to high school. Okay. Kidding. I'm kidding. Hello. Hi. I'll leave the mask on because, you know, we're in a pandemic. Kidding again. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you're doing well. And you're excited to be here. This is actually my third time today dressing up in costume. The thing is, when you're an instructor, you're always concerned about fairness, right? So I dressed up for my first class, felt ridiculous, but once I did that, I was like, well, now to be fair, I have to like dress up for all my classes. So hopefully that didn't scare you guys too much. But if I'm willing to embarrass myself like this, hopefully you guys will be so kind as to turn your cameras on so that I can see your beautiful faces. We can all feel right at home. And let me see here. Okay, awesome, great. Nice to see you all. Hope you guys are doing well. Personally, I mean, it's Tuesday, but I personally feel like I've had like 3 weeks of work already. I'm ready to like sleep for 2 days, but I can't because we have class tomorrow, I think. Yeah, we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So let's actually get into it. Let me share my screen here. Okay, there we go. I think that's nice. Expand. Here's the syllabus. We're going to talk about that. As far as, I think this is not the right one. Okay, all right. I think you can see my screen. Hopefully, you can see my browser. So I posted this link in the chat. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to this website. I'd recommend that you bookmark it or something because it's going to be your hub. So today, first order of business, or pretty much the only order of business, really, I'm just going to read through the syllabus, talk about some stuff with you guys, get everything set up. The syllabus you can find here. I'll be recording the videos and posting them here, as well as notes for the class. Online homework you'd be able to find here. That's the code to sign up for it. And here's where you log in. Here's where you'll go for your grades. Ask questions. I want to set up a form. It's not done yet. Here's where you'll take tests and quizzes in Gradescope. Here are some old paper quizzes just for extra practice. Here are some old paper tests for extra practice. Here is an old final that was on paper for extra practice. You guys will be doing everything online, but the subject matter is going to be pretty much the same. So that's all good. So this is the class website, very useful. A lot of nice information there. But for now, we're going to go here. We're going to go to the syllabus. We're going to talk about this. And you'll notice that if you click there, you'll see the syllabus, which I'm going to go through. And the links are hyperlinked. So you'd be able to click on them and do stuff. And that's nice. So yeah, let us now get into the lesson. Whoa. Is that my phone or?
No, it's mine.
Okay. All right. So in the meantime, we can have you guys muted. I prefer your cameras on, but feel free to unmute yourself at any time and ask a question. In the 10 years I've been teaching math, I've never been in a situation where everyone's falling over each other. Oh, no, pick me to say something in class. So I'm pretty sure that you can just go whenever you want to say something and it'll be fine. Chances are you're not going to clash with anybody. And that's probably better because a lot of the times I'll be writing, I won't be looking up. And so you might be waving at me and I'm not going to see you. So it's best if you want to get my attention to either post something in the chat, or preferable is to just say something audibly and hopefully I can hear you. Yeah, so welcome. My name is Jhevon. I will be your instructor for this class. And hopefully you believe this class is Applied Calculus 1 because that's what this is. And we are section R04. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays at 11:30 a.m. On Zoom, which you'll be using the same link that you use now. Okay, that's my email. I know some of you are thinking, is he really the 306 J Smith? Yes, I am. This is the class website, which if you go to that website, you'll see a link to your class website, which I posted in the chat. Yeah, let's move on. Usual disclaimer, 2020 has taught us to expect the unexpected. So obviously, I reserve the right to make changes. The syllabus should be, for the most part, considered somewhat tentative. Don't expect to change anything, but I might have to, depending on how the semester is going and what 2021 throws at us. If I have to do that, however, I will inform you guys of the changes, and I won't make any changes that's actually going to hurt anyone's grades or anything. Just a note on the websites, they're very important. As you can see, there are a lot of resources on the class website, so just to make sure you know that. Calculators, not allowed on quizzes or tests, but you might find it useful for doing the homework. And yeah, our text that we're using is the Brief Applied Calculus. It's the first edition. I think I have a copy of it here. This is what the book looks like. And I'm not sure if there's another edition now, but this is the first edition. So it's probably cheap. However, you don't have to get the physical textbook because I'm going to have you purchase online homework access. So, and you would get an e-text with that automatically. So you can get the physical text if you want, but it's not by any means necessary. Let's look at grading. Usual grading chart here. Just as a guide, in some sense, I'll be grading on a curve, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But I mean, there's a slight curve built into the class, but on top of that, I will curve individuals to incentivize improvement. So I understand that not everyone hits the ground running, and the semester might be off to a rough start. So if you pick up halfway through the semester and you finish strong, I tend to count the first part of the semester less. In terms of how your grade is going to be computed, homework is 10%. Like I said, that's online. It's going to be through a platform called WebAssign. That is by Cengage, the publishers of the textbook. Quizzes, I'll give you 5 quizzes. I'll drop 1. I'll let you know when the dates of those are. Tests, there will be 2 tests, each worth 20%. And then there will be a final. The tests are non-cumulative unless incidental. Right, so I'm not officially, once I give you topics in test 1, I'm not officially testing you on those topics, but of course, some of the skills you learned for test 1 would apply to other strategies in test 2. So unless it's incidental, it should be considered not cumulative. The final is cumulative though. The tests will each be about an hour-ish long, and the final will be 2 hours-ish long. Hopefully there are no questions on that. Makeups, you can make up a test with a good excuse. I'm not going to do makeups for quizzes because I'm dropping 1. I'm also not going to do makeups for homework because I'm actually giving you a little cushion here. So here you'll see for homework, if you get 85% or higher, I will bump your homework grade up to 100%. So you have 15% of the time to have technical issues, or to, oh, I forgot the homework was due, or, oh, WebAssign, the technology is messing with me. Okay, I'll give you a 15% error rate. Just do 85% of the homework, get at least 85% of that correct, and you have full homework points. Of course, I do recommend that you try all the homework and try to get 100%, but that's just a little cushion there just in case you need it. Attendance, I'll be taking attendance in terms of our the Zoom attendance list. I'm not giving credit for attendance. Usually I do that in the in-person classes, but we're all online, so I don't think that's too fair. However, I do have to keep track of attendance for the first few days for attendance reporting and financial aid and all that stuff. Yeah, let's talk about work ethic real quick. Work your butt off, basically. And this goes double if you are in the boat where you've taken calculus before, especially if you've taken calculus in high school. So it happens to turn out that, in my experience, the students who do worse in a college calculus class happen to be the students who also took calculus before in high school. And I think it's because of a combination of, well, one, high school doesn't teach you calculus at the same level usually. Mostly what I'm seeing these days is high schools really only teach you, here's how to use your calculator to do calculus, but I'm going to expect you to use your brain to do calculus. So it's actually very different. Another thing I think could potentially cause that issue is students believe that just because they did calculus before, they don't have to work as hard. Oh, I got it. I've been through this before. And they just don't push themselves as much. And you always get into trouble that way. Keep pushing yourself. Do not slack off. Keep moving forward. Work hard. And if you've taken calculus before, I would encourage you to actually work harder than you think you have to. Okay, homeworks, quizzes, and tests. So Cengage is where you'll get the homework. You can sign up for it there. You are in the R04 section, so you should use that class key, Fordham space 9780 space 8480, and you can sign up. There are also links on the class website that will bring you to the sign up page. I haven't set all the due dates yet. I believe right now you have homework 0 currently up. It does not involve any calculus. It's mostly on prerequisite stuff, as well as exponentials and logarithms, which we'll be talking about tomorrow. Your first quiz is going to be on Sunday, actually, and homework 0 is due on Saturday. So just a heads up there. Let's see what else. So quizzes and tests, I'm going to give them on Gradescope. You can access Gradescope. All the platforms that I'm mentioning here, you can access them directly from the class webpage. To be able to do all the things I want to do and not having to charge you all an arm and a leg for paying for all these services, it means that I have to find several services where I can get it. So while I know platform fatigue is real, using several platforms is really the best way I can provide a quality experience, I believe. So I would recommend just going to the class website. It'll be like a central location where you can link to anything else. You can go to Gradescope to take a test. You can go to your homework. You can go to a forum, which I'm going to I'll hope to have set up soon. You can go to Jupyter Grace, check your report card. So you can access all that. And if you save your passwords on your browser, then it's just you click a link and you're in. So it shouldn't be too annoying. But yeah, that's how we'll give quizzes and tests. Final exam is cumulative. The tests are not. I don't know when the date of the final is yet. Pre-2020, Fordham always had the final exam schedule up before the first day of classes. However, since 2020, it usually takes a few weeks for them to figure out where the finals should be. So the moment I know when the final is, I'll let you guys know. Just some advice, which students have issues with sometimes, but I want you to know that it is by design. Don't expect a homogeneous learning experience. Don't expect the same level of difficulty across all things. Generally speaking, the homework will be easier than the quizzes, will be easier than the tests. It's meant to build you up. The idea is by the time you get to the test, you should be an expert. And yeah, so don't expect, oh, well, the homework is easier, the test is, yeah, it's supposed to be that way. when you're doing the quizzes and the homework, you're in your learning phase. The test is where you prove that you know everything. I will be sure to prepare you guys enough for the test, so don't worry about that. But just understand that it ramps up in difficulty. Prerequisites, very important. I expect you to remember all the math you've ever done in your life, pretty much, particularly algebra and pre-calculus. It is the #1 predictor of how well you will do in this class. Again, I've been teaching over 10 years. I have never met a student who failed calculus because of calculus. Every student I've ever failed in calculus, they failed because of poor algebra skills and poor pre-calc skills. So I would recommend that if that's you, you need to make sure that you brush up and brush up quickly. So you need to know how to solve equations, solve quadratic equations, and otherwise solve equations with radicals, solve the equations with fractions in them. You should know how to sketch basic curves. You should know how to simplify things, simplify rational expressions, compute difference quotients, know what the equation of a line is, how to sketch a line, like all those basic skills. By far, if you do poorly in this class, that will be the reason. So a lot of students don't recognize that, and they think that their issue with calculus is calculus. This is not the case. The calculus is actually going to be the easy part. So most of the time, we're going to be doing some long-ish problems, and you're going to realize that maybe 20% of the work that you're doing is calculus, and the other 80% is you just simplifying the algebra to get to the answer. So algebra is where it's at. I do expect you to remember everything. That being said, there are some important things I would like to point out. Listed here, called blasphemies, which is it's just a very bad thing that you should never do. And I just want to make sure to bring this to your attention because it's super important. So just to make sure that we're on the same page, I want to actually talk about each of these individually and to make sure that we know what I'm talking about. Because in general, if you make one of these mistakes in particular, I will punish you very heavily for it. So chances are, if you're showing your work and you do one of these things, I'm literally going to give you 0 for that whole problem and move on with my life, not even look at anything else. It's that important. And these mistakes are, on the surface, very silly, but I guarantee you that they can be very tricky. It's not in isolation. We're going to be doing a lot of things all at once, and sometimes when you're multitasking, it's very easy to slip up. So I want you to have these mistakes in the forefront of your mind. Very common mistakes. They're the top reasons why students actually don't do well at algebra, and not doing well at algebra is the main reason why students don't do well at calculus, turns out. So let's actually go through those to make sure that we're all on the same page. And just to, I didn't do much writing in any of my other classes, so let's actually make sure I remember how to write. So 1, do not distribute. I think the first one was cancel. Cancel across sums. What does that mean to cancel across sums? Here's a very common mistake. Let's say a student is going, okay, I have 2x plus 1 all over 2. And they're like, oh, I can cancel the 2's. No, you cannot cancel the 2's. That is incorrect. A very common thing I would see is for students to like cancel the 2's and then write, oh, that's x plus 1. It's actually not x plus 1. You cannot cancel across a sum, and that is because there is a plus sign or a minus sign. So not allowed. You can only cancel across multiplication and division. So for example, if I had 2x plus 1 and this was in parentheses, that's a completely different scenario. That means there's a multiplication sign here. You could cancel these guys and the result would be x plus 1. And that is correct. Okay, so don't cancel across sums. Very common mistake. Don't let it happen to you. Second thing, do not distribute powers. Yeah, I did forget how to write. Across sums. Put a bunch of exclamation points. Be very dramatic here. Okay, what is that? So let's say we have, say, x plus 2 all squared. Something I see all the time. Steven's going to go like, oh, that's x squared plus 2 squared. That's x squared plus 4. Nope, it's not x squared plus 4. That is actually very wrong. And my screen fell asleep on me here. Let me. That is actually very wrong. This is the idea that I could take this power 2 and distribute it to that. You cannot do that because there is a sum. There's a plus or a minus sign in between them. That being said, what is x plus 2 all squared? Someone chime in, let me know.
X squared plus 4x plus 4.
Yep. How do you know that?
You have to multiply them. You have to multiply it by itself.
Right. So this is correct. And you can see that by doing this and applying the distributive law. You'll get like x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. And then you would get x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now, that's fine. That's all good and dandy. Nothing wrong with that. However, better way is to know a general formula for this situation, a plus b all squared. Remember what the formula is? Anyone? Without multiplying it out, like from rote memory? Okay, so this is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So you square the first term, you multiply them and multiply by 2, and then you square the second term. So from that, you can immediately go from x plus 2 all squared, and in your head, you go, oh, I square the x, take the 2 times the x times 2, then I square the 2, and the result is x squared plus 4x plus 4. And I would expect you to jump from here to here. I wouldn't expect you to write out what's in blue, or so you can skip this. And that's because, again, a lot of the times we will be multitasking. So you don't want to take an extra long time to be expanding something. Not only should you be good at pre-calc and algebra, but you want to also be efficient at pre-calc and algebra. So not only know your pre-calc and algebra, but know the quickest ways to do the pre-calc and the algebra. Memorizing formulas like the all squared, and this formula also works with negative signs. You just put a negative sign in the middle. You should know the difference of squares formula, difference of cubes formula, sum of cubes formula. You should know how to rationalize what a conjugate is, how to use a conjugate, all that good stuff, and know the quickest ways to do this. Know the quickest way to combine, simplify a compound fraction. For example, a lot of students would combine the fractions in the top, then combine the fractions in the bottom, then keep, change, flip. It's much easier to multiply and divide by the LCD, for example. You'll actually save yourself a lot of work by doing that. And I expect you guys to be aware of these things. The third thing, do not, and this happens surprisingly often, especially in a class like this, do not divide by 0. It makes no sense. So if you write 2 divided by 0, it's gibberish. It has no mathematical meaning. So that's never going to be an answer. So it's not infinity. It's not 0. It's not anything sensible. Something that's okay which I'll discuss this notation later on, is to write something like 2 over 0 plus, or 2 over 0 with minus. And you would kind of interpret that as 0 with a slight positive charge, which means it's not 0. It's just super close to 0, but it's slightly to the right, like 0.00001, right? And this one can be interpreted as infinity, and this one can be interpreted as negative infinity, where you would think of that as like negative 0.000, right? And we'll talk about this notation. We'll talk about this notation and limits later. Right, so we will be doing a topic called limits, and that is something that you have to be very careful with. That's where the division by 0 mistake often comes up, because there are times when we're working with the topic called limits, and it would seem like we appear to divide by 0, but we actually don't. There's a nuanced concept when the denominator of a fraction is going to 0 and we're approaching it with a limit. It does not mean we specifically plug in 0 in the denominator. So that's very important. There are times when your denominator could apparently go to 0 and the expression goes to plus infinity or minus infinity or any other random number or something that doesn't make any mathematical sense. And you need to know how to distinguish between these different situations. But on the face of it, never put 0 in the denominator for anything. If you ever write that down, you should know that you're wrong somehow. Either you made a mistake or the answer what you're looking for actually does not exist. And instead of writing division by 0, you should write does not exist. Okay, so don't divide by 0. Destroy the whole universe. Okay, so now the fourth thing is more of a do as opposed to a do not. Do you use parentheses appropriately? And other notation. There are a bunch of soft skills that actually are responsible for people who are good at math being good at math. And a lot of times students find math mystifying, and it's because they don't take certain things seriously, which, to be fair, they never realized that they had to take it seriously because no one told them. So I'm telling you, there are a bunch of things that you should take seriously in a math class that you probably wouldn't think that you would take seriously. Language, very important. You need to know the jargon of mathematics. You need to know the definitions. You need to know how to speak in mathematical terms. Super important, because oftentimes how you speak in a mathematical way is not the same as how you would speak in an everyday way. So sometimes you would have a math question that makes a certain statement, and someone would interpret that statement as if they're talking to a friend, whereas the mathematical meaning behind that statement would be completely different. So they're totally mystified as, I don't know why I got this wrong. It's like gibberish. It's, what is this? Is Elvish? Some sort of, I don't understand, right? So language is actually very, very important with mathematics. In fact, language is more important in your math class than it is in your English class, believe it or not, because you have literary devices where you can be ironic and have similes and metaphors, and you can say something without actually saying it. This does not happen in mathematics. There's only a very specific way to say very specific things. And if you're not careful, you'll end up in trouble. Other things that you would end up in trouble for is just being sloppy with notation, not writing down parentheses when you know you should. A lot of students will, in their head, they'll say, I know there should be a parentheses here, but for some reason, they never take the time to actually just write it. You have no idea how often that causes mistakes. For something that's so simple and so avoidable, right? It can literally make 10% difference in your grade or more. Just paying attention to putting your parentheses down, writing down notation properly, actually how you write the symbols on the page, really paying attention. There are times when I would write notation and I would notice that students just don't pay attention to it. So I might write something like the limit of f of x as x approaches 1, don't worry if you don't know what this means, equals 5. And then when I'm grading papers, I would see that some students would write something like the limit as x approaches 1 equals f of x equals 5. So they would put like the equal sign in between the f and the limit sign. Why? Right? It shouldn't be there. And it might not seem like a big deal. And I totally get it that you're very suspicious of me saying this, that you would think, no way is me being sloppy with where I write the equal sign is going to make a difference in my mathematics. It's a difference between a C+ student and an A- student. I kid you not. Knowing the notation is important, and not being sloppy with it is important. There are a lot of things that are responsible for you doing well in math that have nothing to do with the actual math, believe it or not. So what I want to do is I want to work through a problem with you guys right now to see how much you guys remember about this thing and how your skills are holding up after the break, where it's a nice kind of problem. It's not a difficult kind of problem. It's a kind of problem that you would see in a pre-calculus class, but it actually covers all the mistakes that I mentioned before, actually. So here's an example. Let f of x equals 2 minus x squared. Compute f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Now, I'm quite sure you guys have seen this expression before. Even back in algebra and pre-calc class, it's a very common expression for people to ask you to evaluate. And you may or may not have been told what the significance of this expression is, but it's actually a very important expression. And calculus is where you're going to realize why this is an important expression. But for now, let's not worry about why it's important. Let's just actually worry about doing it. Does anyone remember what this is called, this expression, the name for it? Anyone? Is there anyone where it's like on the tip of your tongue, but you can't remember?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay.
I just can't get it.
Good. Do that. Okay. So when I ask a question, take a guess, be adventurous, or just tell me, I think I know this, but I just don't remember. Communicate. Another pro tip. Honestly, that is huge. It's huge in an in-person class, but it's even more important on an online class. The main thing that's going to make an online class work against you is a lack of engagement. When you're staring at a screen and you don't have to write, you can be lounging in your bed. You're not in an environment where everyone is staring in the same direction and paying attention. It's so easy for your mind to lose focus. It's not even funny. Engage, talk to me, have your cameras on. Say anything. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong thing, because I can correct you so you don't make that mistake on the test. It's not about embarrassing. It's about all of us learning together. And seriously, if you change nothing else, like study habits, exactly the same. How you do your homework, exactly the same. But you just make the change of talking in class when I ask a question, automatically you'll get a half grade point or higher from doing that alone. It is crazy how that works. Once you start talking about math, it gets you involved in the language. It gets your brain thinking about it in different ways, because your brain interprets language in certain ways. And that once you start talking about math, your brain starts to understand the math a little bit more. So just by virtue of you talking about it actually makes you better, right? You can literally change nothing and go from like a B- to a B or a B+, simply just by talking in class. Not to your friends, to me.
Professor, is this? It's like
Yeah.
different something. I forgot to.
Okay, great. Difference quotient is what it's called. This is called a difference quotient. And again, based on what I was saying, some of you might not think it's a big deal that you forgot that, but I'm here to tell you, you should consider it a big deal that you forgot the name. You need to know what things are called. You need to take the language very seriously. Very, very important. Okay, now that I'm ranted on, let's actually solve this problem. So someone tell me how to solve this. Yeah?
I'm guessing, but don't you put the f of x, what it equals, into all the x's?
Okay, so tell me what to write. Just go.
I'm guessing because I'm rusty with this.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you put, wait, hold on, I have to find it on the paper. Would it be 2 minus x squared plus h minus 2 minus x squared over h, and then that equals 2 minus x squared?
No.
Oh wait, I didn't see the bottom part. I'm sorry.
No, that is incorrect. And this is very important. That's actually a very common mistake. There are times when I give quizzes where the students fill in the blank, and there are a lot of times when I give students a problem like this and they write down the answer 1. You'll notice that here, if you did this, you would literally always get 1 because all of these guys die and then you can cancel the h's. So a student would think, oh, that's 1, which is a very common mistake. It's actually not true. Does anyone see where the mistake happened? And I'm not picking on you. I'm very glad you chimed in, but it's actually super important.
I think I know where the mistake was.
Yeah, what is it?
You have to put the plus h with each of the x's.
Exactly. So what was written here is actually f of x, and the plus h is on the outside. It's very different from the f of x plus h, right? The notation has the parentheses on the other side of the h, and that matters, right? So this is actually incorrect, and that's because f of x plus h is not the same as f of x plus h. And your brain will automatically interpret one versus the other easier, but it makes all the difference in the world. Simply having the parenthesis here versus here makes all the difference in the world, right? And that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? When anyone knows how to do this problem correctly, it's not hard, but at the same time, you have all these built-in deep misconceptions that makes you get the wrong thing, even though you're more than capable of getting the right thing. Can you explain in words? Okay, so in words, when I say f of x plus h, what do you think? What does that mean? What should you do? Replace.
We should replace like the x with x plus h, like the
Right.
entire.
You replace every x.
Yeah.
Let me write it like that. Replace every x with x plus h parentheses. When you see that notation, that's the sentence that you should think in your head. I'm going to replace every x with x plus h. So what does that mean? If my f of x is 2 minus x squared, that would mean my f of x plus h is everywhere there was an x before, I now instead write an x plus h in that position, right? Which is not hard. It's just something you have to know to do, right? You just have to recognize when I see this notation, it means I do this. So you have to pay attention to the notation. And again, it's very common for students to not write parentheses here, for example, and that gets you into trouble as well. The parentheses are important.
Professor, would we have to put parentheses around the entire part, like around the 2 and then around where?
Yes, you also need a parentheses here. That was another error. I was going to point that out later as well. Very common error.
But not around
common.
the other one, not around the x plus h one, right?
You could, but you don't have to.
Okay.
overusing parentheses is not as deadly as underusing parentheses. So you could, but it's optional. So let's go back. So now with what we've learned, f of x plus h all over h, we know that that is, I'm going to go everywhere. Everywhere I see x, I plug in this. After the negative sign, it needs parentheses. This is the correct first step. Parentheses. Just because you mentioned it, around here, these are optional parentheses. If you put it, you're not going to get it wrong, but it's not necessary because really there's a 1 in front of here, which when you distribute, it's not going to make a difference anyway. Okay, so that's the first step. 50% of students who get a problem like this wrong gets it wrong on this step, the first step. And the majority of students who get it wrong on the first step makes this specific mistake. It's uncanny, right? And just to know that that's something that you should look out for is going to be beneficial. Let's actually keep going. So what I'm going to do now is we can actually just expand the parentheses. So I would have 2 minus x minus h minus x squared minus h squared minus 2 plus x squared all over h, right? Yeah? Anyone agree?
Why would that why would you have the h squared? You distributed it, you made it x squared minus h squared.
Yeah.
You have to.
Thank you. I saw a bunch of people nodding. This is actually incorrect. Another common mistake. Half the people who survive the first step will make a mistake here in the second step. This is distributing powers across sums. You see how it sneaks in? You guys a lot of you didn't even realize when I wrote it down because there's so much other stuff going on, your brain loses the focus. And so you're not fully paying attention. This is a mistake. Normally when I'm writing stuff out, I'm not going to be marking it up all like this. I'll write a little bit more of what I'm thinking, but it's not going to be this crazy. It's just because the first class, I'm just trying to show you some lessons. The correct thing is to realize that the x plus h all squared is that same formula. I square the x, I multiply the x and the h by 2, and I multiply the h and I square the h, and then I distribute the negative sign. So the student who distributed powers across sum would have missed the 2h, and hence they would have gotten the problem wrong. So that's where we should be. Right, so let's keep going. So I know what we can do here. We can cancel these h's, yeah?
You can't do that.
No.
You can't. No, Jhevon, you're crazy. You can't do that, right? You see me do that. You need to shout into the camera. No, what are you doing? Okay, no, why? Canceling across sums. Another huge percentage of people who made it over the first 2 hurdles would actually fall here. Now there's a division by 0 mistake hidden here, but you'll appreciate it later on in the class. So I'm not going to talk about it right now, but that is a canceling across sums mistake. So I can't cancel the h's. What can I do?
You combine like terms.
Combine like terms. And that is the beauty of knowing do nots. There are times when just knowing that you're not allowed to do something, your brain automatically will look for other things to do. And so because you know you can't cancel the h, but you need to simplify, that's when you're going to start to notice, hey, +2 - 2, -x + x, -x squared + x squared. Hey, these guys all kill each other, right? And so now what we get is -h - 2h 2xh, there should be an xh. Minus h squared all over h. And now I can cancel the h's, yeah?
No.
No, thank you. You probably should have shouted at me a little bit more. You're not allowed to cancel the h. What are we allowed to do? What's the option now then?
The
Take out the
H.
common factor.
Right, there's a common factor of h in the top. And guess what? Now these things are separated by multiplication. We are allowed to cancel. And that is the answer. Any questions on that?
Yeah, quick question actually.
Yeah.
You see how you wrote the answer as -1 minus 2x minus h? Does it really matter which term comes first?
No,
Because-
the order doesn't matter.
All right, just asking.
Yeah, if they have the same signs, you can arrange them in any order. The operation of addition is called commutative, we call it. Yeah. Now, this is a nice problem because it's a problem that most people actually learn to do in pre-calc, but they forget or they just didn't take each of the steps very seriously, so they never learned it very well. But this is a very common type of problem that we are going to be doing in this class all the time, believe it or not. And it also showcases all the major mistakes that I mentioned. Now you guys can see, some of you are probably rolling your eyes at me when I was showing you this up here, like, geez, Jhevon, I know not to do that. But I made those same mistakes down here, but it wasn't quite obvious, right? This is what I want you to be aware of, right? That these little misconceptions and you just not really paying attention comes back to bite you. And once you just know what to avoid, you automatically kind of end up going down the right path, right? Because even the mistakes, they're rooted in something real, right? So a student is tempted to do distribute a power because there is a rule that says I'm allowed to distribute stuff like this. I'm allowed to do that, right? But it matters that the 2 is huge and to the left as opposed to small and to the right. The notation, how it's written, matters. And because a student just didn't pay attention to the notation, they just say, oh, whenever I see a parentheses and something beside it, I can just distribute, right? That's what your brain tells you, but it only tells you that because you didn't tell your brain, nah, dude, that's not how it works. It matters how it's written. So be careful. And we're already a few minutes over. I think that's all I want to say for now. So let's just actually wrap up that discussion. But I just wanted to illustrate how these things would come back to bite you. So now, yeah, give me a second. I just want to make sure that I got through the whole syllabus with you guys so I can rush through the rest of it. But the math stuff is yeah, but this is the important stuff. Let me paste the rest of the syllabus here. And we can quickly go through it. We're almost done. Just bear with me. Tomorrow we'll hit the ground running. We'll talk about exponentials and logarithms. But let's actually get back to this stuff. Okay. So those are the blasphemies. Very important. Read them, go home, practice them, do more of these problems. Try more of these guys on your own. Try again with, say, f of x equals square root of x. Do you know how to find the difference quotient? F of x equals 1 over x squared. Do you know how to find the difference quotient? F of x equals 5 minus 2x squared. Do you know how to find the difference quotient? Just try a bunch of formulas and see if you know how to do it. And again, I'm going to share these notes, so don't worry if you're missing something. I just want to get you guys out of here. Another important thing is help. Everyone needs help sometimes. Don't feel bad. Sources of help. There's me. Reach out to me during office hours. Other sources of help. I'll be uploading practice tests and quizzes and all that stuff on the website. There are already some old ones already there. I would say practice quiz 1 on website. 20 minutes. Don't look at the answers. You can check your answers after. Between doing that and doing the homework, you should be prepared for the quiz that we have next week. Tutoring. I know we're eventually going to be offering online tutoring, but it's not set up yet. I don't think they have hired all the tutors, but the math department usually has tutoring online. The dean's office usually has tutoring online, and certain departments or schools that some of you may be involved in would normally have tutoring online, but I don't have any information at the moment. Websites, super important. Wolfram Alpha and Symbolab, I use that on the daily myself, so it can definitely help you out. Student disability services, if you believe you're entitled to accommodations on tests or extra time, I would highly recommend you reach out to them the first week of class. Class rules, very important. Pay attention, engage. It's so important. It's not even funny. It's literally important where you can not change your life, but just engage more and you automatically become better at math. It's scary. Academic integrity. So we're all adults here and you guys are my students, and some of you might think it's silly, but I'm actually going to trust you guys. So a lot of times when you're doing tests and quizzes and stuff, it'll be based on the honor code. So you will be able to cheat, but I'm encouraging you not to. It never works out, and it's to someone who's taught for a long time, it's highly recognizable. I actually caught a bunch of students cheating last semester, even though I wasn't watching them. I could literally prove that they were cheating. It's just not worth it. It's an uncomfortable situation. I don't like it. You won't like it. And if I catch you cheating, I'm not allowed to ignore it. It's literally a part of my job. Like, I can get in trouble if I ignored it, right? So it's not good. I wouldn't want to have to do it. Let's not do it. And on top of it, it's not necessary. 1203 in general, it's not a hard class. I mean, I might have scared you guys up here a little bit, but really, if you pay attention to these little rules that I'm giving you, you'll realize that it's really okay. Like, I usually get a good grade distribution for 1203. I don't think I've ever given an F in this class unless a student literally just like not shows up or not does any work. Anyone who marginally tries gets a D or higher, which is a pass. So just try a little harder and pay attention to the advice I'm giving you. Even if you might think it doesn't make any sense, I promise you it makes sense. I'm not going to waste time telling you something that won't help you. Yeah, just follow my advice, and an A is more than possible. There would be no need. Here are the topics we're going to be covering. Here is the test date. So for your first test is on March 19th. It covers topics 1 through 13. And your second test is May 4th, and that covers these topics. Like I said, it's not cumulative. However, there are some basic skills you'll learn up here when I'm teaching you material from test 1 that you'll obviously have to reproduce in test 2, but I'm not going to specifically test you on the test 1 stuff. Right? Here's the quiz schedule. I've taken online classes myself, and I think it works to just like have your quizzes like outside of the week. You just, when you wake up on a Sunday morning, you spend 50 minutes on a quiz, you start your Sunday off right. It's not a lazy day and you're not bothered by all this other stuff going on. Hopefully you guys can make those times, but I'm planning on giving all the quizzes on Sunday this semester.
Hey, sir?
Yes.
What if you have work on Sunday morning? Is there a way you can make it like I just get it done sometime on Sunday?
So for something like that, I would say you should email me and we'll have to figure something out.
All right.
I might be open to giving you earlier if you want to take it earlier, but we'll have to talk.
Okay.
Okay, so if anything that bothers you, that's of a personal nature, like schedule and things like that, just reach out to me in email, and I'll work with you. A lot of important dates. I would highly recommend that you check out the full academic calendar, but at a glance, here are some important things that are coming up. Last day to withdraw, when finals week is. So like I said, I don't know when the final is, but I know it'll be during that period. So don't make any travel plans or anything like that, or it's just going to be inconvenient. And that is what I want to cover. Now, just a few more seconds. I just want to check one thing and then I can let you guys go. I put a polling up on the screen. I just want to check that you guys, like as I've been saying, communication is super important. I want to check that you guys are actually receiving my communications. So just respond to that poll quickly. Did you receive an email from my personal email, jsmith06? Did you get an email from Jupiter Ed? That was sent out about half an hour before class, so you might have to pull that up and check if you didn't check your emails since class. Did you get a message from Blackboard? Did you get a message from Gradescope? I sent all of these out. Jupiter was sent out this morning, but all the other messages were sent out a couple days ago. So everyone should have gotten everything except potentially Jupiter Ed, at which point you should just check.
Sir, really quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does the applied title mean for this class? Is it different than regular calculus?
Yes. So applied calculus is mostly geared towards biology majors and people who need calculus, but they don't need like the serious calculus. If you are a math major or a physics major or an engineering major, you should be in the other class. Okay. So notable differences are the type of word problems I would give you in this class are going to be different, and no trigonometry. So the class does not include trigonometry. So you don't have to remember about sines and cosines and tangents or things like that. In the other calculus class, you go through trigonometry, you do a lot of proofs, and in general, the class is just at a slightly higher level. That's for like math majors, physics majors, engineering majors. If you're here, it means you want to do the MCAT or you need calculus for your degree, but you're not really in like any of the hard sciences. You're in like biology. I would recommend chemistry, take the other one, but you could get away in chemistry with doing this. I would not recommend it. Yeah, about 90% of people have voted, just waiting on the last two people. Please do that. So yeah, that's the difference between the classes. So overall, it depends on your major. Chances are the science students who should be here are biology. If you're in chemistry, physics, math, engineering, you should be in 1206 for sure. Okay, 100% has voted. End poll. Yes.
May I just ask a question on the homework? You said there was homework due Saturday. Would that be on that Cengage site?
Yes. So at this point, you shouldn't have to purchase right away. You can do a 2-week trial period. So you can just get access to the homework and try it out. And after 2 weeks, how you feel in the class, you might want to switch to another class. It'll be okay. You won't need to spend any money, but it's on Cengage. It covers prerequisite stuff. So like the stuff on quiz 1 on the class website. It also covers exponentials and logarithms, which I will be talking about tomorrow and Friday. So looking here, it looks like 100% of people received my personal email. 82% received Jupiter. If you did not receive Jupiter, an email from Jupiter, email me. If you did not receive an announcement from Blackboard, you should also email me. It's not super important though, because I don't like Blackboard. I don't use it very often, but if your Blackboard is broken, you should know about it. It might be important for your other classes. I send out a blast on Blackboard just in case, just want to make sure that everyone could make it here for the first class. But mostly I'll be communicating with you through Jupiter Ed or my personal email. You'll get emails from Gradescope only when you're doing a test or a quiz. I'll actually, because you'll do the test or quiz in Gradescope and it'll email you the grade that you got. So you should definitely be on Jupyter Ed and Gradescope because it's very important. If you haven't seen those emails, it's very important that you email me and tell me I didn't get these emails. 18%, only 18% recognized who I was impersonating at the beginning of class. Interesting. Okay, all right. That was just for fun. I wanted to know. I forgot to ask my other classes, but it's interesting. I'm like, how many people got it, what I was doing? Or they just think, this dude is like, okay, all right. Those who get it, I hope you found it funny, because yeah. So that's it, everyone. Yeah, we are going to call it a day. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found everything understandable. If you have any more questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me, email me, and yeah. For now, that's it. Yes. Well, you misspelled something. But that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow, same place, same bad channel. See you guys in the next one. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.